Greetings, Icon Online! Thank you for tuning in to my panel about the history of the tiny transformers, from Micromasters to Minicons to BotBots. I'm Michael, aka SoundJack, and since most of you probably don't know who I am, how's about we start this off with a brief personal introduction to show that I am, quote-unquote, qualified to be hosting this panel. I first got into Transformers with a Cybertron cartoon and have followed the franchise since. I have my own YouTube channel where I review Transformers, though most of my viewing audience watches for my BotBots related content. Which is absolutely fine by me, because I love the BotBots. And the Minicons too. Might explain why I'm doing this panel, huh? During this panel, I'm going to define what I mean by a tiny transformer, explaining the similarities between the three groups, and then explain their differences from each other. After that, I'll give my opinion on what are the best qualities from all three groups, and see how they can be applied to future generations of tiny transformers. And with all that said, let's get started. The first thing that a tiny transformer is a transformer that is tiny. Wow, great use of words there, Michael. The Micromasters, Minicons, and BotBots are smaller than the other Transformers, averaging around 2 inches in height. Their small size also leads to some other traits: simple conversions, limited articulation, relatively inexpensive. But this description alone would include so many other types of Transformers. Scout class figures, Legends of Cybertron, the Cyberverse line, no, not that one, the first one, and more. So is there some definition or terminology from some official source that could help us clarify things? Why, in fact, there is. At BotCon 2002, Hasbro discussed the at the time new Armada toy line and used the term microplay in reference to the Minicons. Microplay is what Hasbro used to define the intended play pattern of the Minicons. A play pattern being how the kids should use this toy. Unfortunately, Hasbro didn't expand upon what they exactly meant by microplay, but by analyzing it and comparing it to the Minicons, we should be able to figure it out. Small size is important as micro is involved, so microplay would require some things being smaller than others then, right? If that's the case, then microplay would involve the micro things interacting with larger figures or sets. Beyond being bite-sized bots, all three groups that we are looking at today do involve interaction with some larger items, such as the Micromaster bases, or basically every non-Minicon from Armada. The BotBots aren't physically designed to interact with anything else. No 5mm posts or the like on them, though many fans, and even official Hasbro stop-motion videos, often use them as props, so I think they get a pass. This solidly disqualifies all Scout Legends of Cybertron-esque figures, as they lack the microplay pattern and are either just shorter than others, or are all equally short. But the Thrilling 30 Legends class figures that could interact with the concurrently released Titan Metroplex, as well as the old Cyberverse toy line, are also a part of the microplay pattern. So why have I excluded them from this panel? Well, to me, the Micromasters, Minicons, and BotBots have something else that separates them a bit further from these other microplay examples. Something that makes me specifically enjoy collecting them more. The fact there are just so freaking many of them, with the absolute vast majority being brand new, original characters designed specifically for these lines. Now, having a massive menagerie of mini machines certainly makes sense from a marketing perspective. Each individual toy is cheaper to produce than larger figures, so Hasbro can produce many more toys in this size, and because there are so many, the marketing encourages fans to collect them all, like Pokemon or trading cards. But if there are so many original characters introduced all at once, how am I supposed to remember them all? Well, I'm glad you asked, hypothetical audience member, and the answer is, they have clicks. Most of the tiny transformers are gathered into some type of group or unit. The Micromasters have their patrols, the Minicons have their teams, the BotBots have their, troops, squads, shocks? The fictional stores that they belong to, you know what I mean. Having them in designated groups may not necessarily help you remember their specific personalities or who is who, but since you know that they belong to X group, that still tells you something about them. Just by looking at the team names, The Micromaster Off-Road Patrol likely work well in rugged terrain and might prefer being by themselves. The Race Minicon team could be obsessed with racing, and the Swag Stylers seem like they're into fashion. And by looking at some of the bios for the individual teammates, you can see that these assumptions are pretty accurate. Even though most of the individual bots only have the unit grouping to make them unique, some of them just stand out on their own. Whether that be a memorable fictional portrayal, a unique design, a weird quirk, or something about them relates to you personally. Honestly, that's why I like these little lads as much as I do. Each one has their own interesting traits that can appeal to someone. Just like Pokemon, despite there being nearly 900 of them now, every Pokemon is somebody's favorite. Unless you're Simisear. No one likes Simisear. So now that we've finally deciphered what a Tiny Transformer really is, let's talk about what each of the Tiny Transformers groups brings to the table. First up, the Micromasters. First released in 1989 as part of the final 2 years of the original Transformers toy line, they were produced after Hasbro noticed the popularity of the mini toy vehicles from Galoob Micro Machines. The first year of the Micromasters included 4 bot patrols whose members all shared a theme, as well as some Micromaster sets that included a Micromaster and a piece of hardware that could convert between modes. No direct interactivity was made with any other Transformers at the time, but the bases were made as a Playhouse-like stage where the Micromasters could have imaginary fierce battles! In 1990, the Micromaster idea was expanded upon with the introduction of a new type of Micromaster, the Micromaster Combiners, where each Micromaster would form half a vehicle and 2 of them could combine to make a full vehicle. Each one had their own dedicated partner, but they could also be matched together with anyone to make some interesting vehicles. This new Micromaster breed was available in 6-pack Combiner squads, and with new Combiner transports and bases. There was also a new round of regular Micromasters released too. While the Micromasters took up about half the Transformers product in those years, they received little fictional portrayal at the time. The cartoon had stopped in 1987, and the few that received fiction only appeared in the comics that were nearing the end, with an already bloated cast. Otherwise, you were limited to the bios on the packaging, which for the units consisted of a bio for the whole team, as well as quotes for each individual teammate. Though it wasn't until Dreamwave put out their More Than Meets the Eye guidebooks in 2002 until they all got fleshed out personalities. And then that was that for the Micromasters, until they were brought back recently in the War for Cybertron Trilogy toy line. Now, while the Micromasters came about to compete with another toy brand, the Minicons originated as part of the base concept around the 2002 Armada toy line. It seems Hasbro intended for the Minicons to be a successor to the Micromasters, which I believe were a very strong improvement over their predecessors. Unlike the Micromasters, the Minicons were built to interact with all of the figures they were sold alongside. This was achieved through the Powerlinks port, which every Minicon had and could connect to special posts on all the Armada figures, activating a gimmick feature, or just being a place where the Minicons could be attached. The Minicons also had their teams, though only 3 per team as opposed to the Micromasters' 4-member patrols. The Minicons were a bit more engaging, in my opinion, because on top of having a unified theme, each team also had their own gimmick, such as combining, having pressure-launched missiles, turning into weapons, and more. Beyond the teams, a Minicon was included with every other Armada figure released. Some of the Minicon's partners were built to uniquely interact with them in a way no other Minicons could. Some had special Powerlinks gimmick activations that only worked with the Minicon they came with, while others could more typically combine to enhance the larger bot's alt mode. Of special note, Tidal Wave's partner Ramjet was a jet scaled to interact with his aircraft carrier mode, and was even able to store under the deck. Bases weren't really a thing in Armada like they were with the Micromasters, though there were a handful of functionally based modes, such as with Armada Optimus Prime's trailer and Tidal Wave's troop transport that can be used by Minicons as an actual troop transport. Design-wise, I do think that the Minicons were overall better than the Micromasters. They had a greater variety of conversions compared to the Micromasters that mostly were flip out legs, reveal head, pull out arms, done. For example, the Minicon Bone Crusher splits in half, and then you rotate the one half 180 degrees to transform him between his two modes. That's amazing! You don't see that on any other Transformer, and I love it! The Minicons also had a greater range of alternate modes that, along with unique transformations, led to very unique robot modes. Bio-wise, the Minicon teams had very simple bios, only being 2 or 3 sentences long and having one quote for the entire team. Dreamwave did come through though, and published a guidebook for the Armada characters in 2004, just after the Armada cartoon finished airing in December of 2003. Though that's a lot better than some cartoons made to promote certain toy lines as of late. Combiner siege! Sorry. Unlike Micromasters that had to wait a couple of decades to come back, Minicons stuck around even after Armada ended. They appeared in the rest of the Unicron trilogy, and new molds were released in Classics in 2006 and in 2010's Power Core Combiners, which saw different releases up through 2014. And that was the Minicons. Now, on to the BotBots! Like the Micromasters, the BotBots seem to be Hasbro's response to a trend. In this case, Shopkins. The main methods the BotBots have been released are in single packs, 5 packs, and 8 packs. 60 or more BotBots have been released per wave so far, and are mixed between the different types of packs available. There are normally, per wave, 24 single packs, 8 different 5 packs, and 8 different 8 packs. If you add that up, you get a number larger than 60-some. So multiples of some characters are used to fill out these packs, though not everyone. Some BotBots are exclusive to a certain pack class, or can even only be found in one pack alone. Since getting every single different release of a wave would be more than necessary to complete the set, several fans have put effort into determining the most cost-effective way to get every single one of them. Their designs are very far removed from either the Micromasters or the Minicons, being cutesy, super deformed, everyday items that convert into cutesy, super deformed robots. Heck, it stands out compared to basically all Transformers, so this design choice certainly makes them more memorable and distinct at first glance. But then you look closer and notice that these figures, that average for about $2.50 each, and made out of soft plastic, have some real nice paint and molding on them. The faces especially are often quite emotive and really helps one get the sense of their character. Speaking of character, the bios the BotBots come with only have their name and their function on the instructions. However, the instructions also have the web address for the official website, which, if you follow, you can find full bios for nearly every single one of them. Just look at some of these punfully amazing bios! Also, when you look at these bios, so many of these BotBots are female, which you wouldn't know just by looking at their very designs. Wow. The BotBots are much more progressive than the mainline Transformers, aren't they? Huh. I've mentioned the standard means of release of the BotBots, but there have been some unique ones I'd like to discuss quickly. Series 4 introduced the special 10 packs that were branded as the Claw Machine or the Gumball Machine Surprise Unboxing. Though these packages are a bit of a weird shape and take up much more room than they necessarily need to, what's fun about them is that the BotBots they come with come in capsules like you would find in gacha machines. And you can interact with the packaging to remove them like you would from an actual Gumball machine. The Claw Machine ones just kind of roll out when you pull the release, but hey, it's fun seeing them all spill out. Well, that was disappointing. Come on, get out of there. Come on. There we go. Beyond that, the BotBots don't have much they are intended to interact with, but again, they make for perfect props. Okay, that's all of the differences between the Micromasters, Minicons, and BotBots. So now, what do I think are the best traits of these tiny Transformers that I would like to see brought back for a future successor? Personally, from the Micromasters, I'd like to see more converting and or connecting bases, and maybe even the universal connections like the Micromaster Combiners. For the Minicons, obviously their compatibility with larger figures and their more unique transformations would be ideal to see again. I would emphasize the gimmick activation and some of the team gimmicks, but features like lights and pressure launch missiles have not been seen in mainline Transformers for so long. I doubt it'd come back specifically for Tiny Transformers, unfortunately. From the BotBots, more unique alt modes would be great to see more of. Honestly, even more household items would be great. And as well as their extremely expressive faces. So then, my ideal Tiny Transformer successor would have a unique connection port system designed to connect with each other and larger bots, a large range of bases that could build towns for them to interact with, and feature more unusual alternate modes that convert into more interesting robots that have expressive faces that give you an insight into their personality. These are the traits that stand out to me the most, and I think would provide the next Tiny Transformers with a wide range of interactivity and very strong eye-catching designs. Honestly, though, what we've gotten recently has been very close to being great. Reportedly, the War for Cybertron trilogy Micromasters would have also included Minicom ports, but they were cut. And I would have loved that. And maybe we would have gotten the Star Saber team repaint that was right there! Also, if the BotBots do keep going, I would love it if they would sell mall stores that could be interconnected in whatever way you want to build up a mall like the one they used to display the BotBots at Toy Fair in 2019. That would be my jam! And that's all I have to say about the Tiny Transformers. I hope you enjoyed this panel. What are your favorite Tiny Transformers? Do you agree with me with my ideal Tiny Transformer idea? Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at SoundJack426 to let me know your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. This is SoundJack, signing off.